Welcome back to the Turn on the Music podcast. This is episode 10. My name is Tired, and we're going to talk about another artist, Béla Fleck and the Flecktones. We got CJ here. How are you, sir?
I'm good, tired. How are you doing?
I'm Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I'm tired. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm tired.
We're like the name Kyle has now become synonymous with tired.
Yes.
How are you
Yes, it
feeling
has.
today? I'm a bit Kyle today.
Yes.
Oh, we're
Ugh.
gonna make that we're gonna make that a shirt. How you feel today? I'm a bit Kyle.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Ugh. What a day. What a day.
It's been a week and you've only been in work for what, 2 days?
2 days.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that. Definitely feel that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, it's you know what? Every time I change something here, it's like it throws me off for the first night. So all I did was change headphones, and I'm freaked out. It
But
sounds so different.
don't they go into the same spot that the other headphones were in?
Yeah, they do, but it sounds different. So now I'm all freaked out that it
Oh,
sounds
okay.
different.
Right. It has a better sound. I
Yeah,
get
these
it.
are much nicer, much clearer,
Yeah.
louder.
I need to do inventory of all my stuff and find out what I can get rid of and replace.
Yeah,
Give myself a reason to be able to spend the money.
right. So how's your week going?
Same. The past 2 days, because we're recording on a Wednesday night like we usually do, and it's 2 days after Memorial Day weekend, so we weren't working Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, these past 2 days just felt like they've gone
Yeah,
forever.
actually, yesterday for me was very fast, but today I was so much busier today than I was yesterday, but it felt so slow. I don't know why.
Isn't that what happens though? Like the busier days feel like they take forever.
Not always.
No, they usually do for me. But
Yeah.
how often are you, because you do IT work
Mm-hmm.
in your job?
Yep.
How often are you sitting in front of a computer doing data entry?
Not often.
Is it more it's more
More
like
walking around and doing stuff.
yeah, see that's the thing, like I'm sitting at my desk doing a lot of data entry
Mm-hmm.
for some of the stuff. I mean, there's more to it than that. That sounds simplified, but it's the best way to explain it.
Right.
So I have to get myself standing. Like I make sure after an hour and a half I'm walking, because
Yeah.
luckily I have a corner desk. I could fall asleep in it.
Yeah. I was running all day back and forth between people, and I had to run to base, then run back, and I just ran all day long. Yesterday, so we're building a new room in our office, and um, they said, well, we're gonna be cutting concrete today, so it's gonna be real noisy. Everyone should work from home, and I was like, okay, cool, but I got stuff to do. I got to be here. So, and it turned out it wasn't that loud, but like there were 4 people in the office yesterday, and it was like it felt like the day flew by, and I was like, I didn't do anything. I mean, it was crazy. Um, so yeah.
So, have you been listening to? Oh my goodness, have you been listening to anything different lately?
So I did something different today.
Uh oh.
Um, I decided that I was going to make my own radio playlist. So I have started just artists that I listen to, take their full catalog, throw it in a playlist.
Okay.
So I have right now 1,150 songs. It's like 70 hours of music, and I'm just hitting the shuffle button, and I'm letting
Okay.
it
So
go.
you're not doing it in order of
Nope,
tracks.
nope.
That's a cool idea.
So yeah, so this is like it's most not all of Tower of Power yet. All of Victor Wooten, Stanley Clark, Béla Fleck and the Flecktones, Corey Wong, Joe Bonamassa. Haven't gotten Nickel Creek in there yet, but like, so it's just going to be just everything. So
That's actually a good idea.
yeah,
Throw
and then what
everything
I
into
have
one.
an Apple TV in my room, so I've taken the Apple TV and I'm using it to cast what I'm listening to on the TV. Because people come in and ask me all the time what I'm listening to. I'm just going to point now. It's that. Just look.
What's that?
So,
What are you listening? That
yeah,
I'm pointing at the screen.
yeah,
That's what it says.
yeah. So
That's
yeah,
actually cool.
today was
I
just
may
was
have to.
random everything. It was just
I may have to
cool.
try that out.
Yeah.
Typically, I like to listen through the album because I feel like I'm doing something wrong
Mm-hmm.
if I skip or
Right.
shuffle it.
Right.
But I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It'll be. I wonder how it figures out the like what the algorithm is to decide what the next song is.
Mm,
Because you can't set that. There's nothing you could set.
right.
Like you can't say like match this up. So I wonder what it decides.
Yeah. I mean, and our episode last week, it was kind of what inspired me was all this Joe Bonamassa stuff that I forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it'd be cool to like what other stuff have I forgotten about with the Flecktones and Tower of Power and all these other artists that I listen to. So
Right, because you're gonna recognize every song, but you're gonna be like,
yeah,
I didn't get to that song last time because I only got to track 7 or
right,
whatever.
right. So
It makes sense.
that's my plan. Um, and maybe I mean if anyone is interested, I will make the playlist public once I'm done with it. But
On what
um,
program are you
Cobuzz,
making it on?
Cobuzz.
Cobus.
Yep. I like
Cool.
Cobuzz a lot because um, so I've got a Mac there that I use to do like video stuff and photography stuff.
Right.
Um, but Cobuzz, the way Cobuzz works on a Mac, I don't know how. I actually haven't tried it on a PC yet. But I've got an external digital audio converter on my Mac, so I can use that to play just Cobuzz, and then I can use the Mac speakers to do like YouTube, to do whatever else I'm working on. So I can still have music playing on separate speakers, and then use the Mac for like actual
Okay.
work stuff, which is pretty
That
cool.
makes sense.
So I do like that ability. Rune does that too. So
But which one again is it that is more pulls from your library?
Rune pulls from my library. Cobuzz. So the downside to Rune is I haven't figured out how to get it to work at work yet.
Okay.
Um, even though I have a VPN set up, it should work theoretically, but it doesn't. It doesn't see the local. Anyway, stupid stuff. So.
But Cobus is like a streaming service.
Cobuzz is a streaming service, kind of like Spotify or Apple Music. It just has a catalog of high res stuff, and it does a really good job of doing like the artist like descriptions and reviews and that
Right.
sort of
Right. You were
thing,
saying.
stories behind the artist, which is really cool. And it tends to focus more on the in I don't want to say independent, but like the smaller artists, the jazz stuff, classical stuff.
Makes sense.
When you're using Tidal tends to go more towards the pop area of music or whatever. For me, Cobuzz fits better. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you? What are you listening to?
Same old audiobook.
Awesome. Great.
Actually, I just finished book 15. I'm on the last book in the series.
Okay.
Even though there's like 2 books that kind of like went off to the side, I didn't listen to them. I was like, whatever. So I'm on the last book. Once this is done, I'll be a happy camper because I just want to know the ending to this whole entire
Right.
saga. And then I'll probably take a break from audiobooks because by the time I'm done with this, it's going to be the weather's going to get to the point where I'm going to want to drive with the windows down a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
When I listen to the audiobook, I tend to keep the windows up so I can make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'm gonna take your idea and in my Apple Music, make that playlist.
Cool.
And I've been doing Apple lossless,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been getting a better quality. I think
Do you hear the difference?
I do. I mean, not so much in my car
Right.
because I have factory speakers in there.
And you're probably using Bluetooth.
No, I'm actually
Oh, you're wired?
hardwired into. I
Oh, nice.
changed the radio to a touch screen, so I can use
Cool.
CarPlay. So I'm hardwired into it.
Nice.
I just don't have like an amp or anything like that. I wasn't going to invest in it. I think
Mm-hmm.
my next car, if it doesn't have a good system, I will invest in a better stereo system. And this one, I don't know how much longer I want to keep, so I don't want to invest in it.
Right.
The next one, I'm in it every day. It's at least 45 hours one way. So I'm like, I need something a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm tempted that if I can fix a couple things in my car, not that there's anything bad, but kind of, what is it? What's the word? The I can't even think of the word. It's
Windowsill.
the cosmetic things.
See?
What'd you say?
Windowsill.
Windowsill. The cosmetic aspect of it. Like if I can find ways to fix some of the cosmetic things on the inside and the outside of the car, I may hold on to it. It's a Subaru.
Mm-hmm.
It'll go 250,000 miles.
Yeah.
Like, and then it would be worth it for me to change the stereo in it.
Yep.
So. But yeah, audiobook right now. I haven't really listened to any music. Even at work, I can't even do it right now. It's just too busy for me to put it on, even though I'd rather listen to music than the people around me.
Yeah.
Not everybody. There's some people I don't mind talking to, but
Yep.
yeah, just a few people. Actually, it's really more of the people from the outside
Mm-hmm.
versus the people I work with.
Right.
I love everybody. I'm just joking. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, shall we get to some music?
No, I
Okay.
thought this was a podcast about audio.
Well, let's tell me about your audiobook.
No, I'm just joking. So, artist spotlight,
Artist Spotlight. Béla
which I'm
Fleck and the
surprised we
Flecktones.
haven't done this one yet.
I know it's like we've talked about them, and um, so yeah, Béla Fleck and the Flecktones. Um, did I introduce you to them, or did you find
No,
them?
you totally did.
Okay.
No, you totally did.
Do
Which
you know
is
how
what?
I found them?
Huh?
Do you know how I found them?
You told me. I forgot how though.
So there was a saxophone player, not you saxophone player at Post, who introduced us or me to him to the wow words. So
They're hard.
a fellow saxophone player at CW Post introduced me to this group. And this is a story I've told a little bit, because he said, this is it's kind of like bluegrass but jazz, and I went, I do not want to listen to this. I don't care. Get it away from me. And here I am 20 years later. I almost got kicked out of one of their shows, and I found Victor Wooten through them, and
Right.
huge.
Was he the saxophonist that played in Big Shot for a while?
Yes, he
Okay.
was. So to tell
By the way, Big Shot is a cover band that was based on Long Island of all Billy Joel music.
Yeah. Just I've told the story before. With the quick Béla Fleck story is, me and Charlie were at I think it was Port Jeff Theater, and we had really bad seats, last row, like awful seats. And Charlie is all about finding like the best seat in the house. So we found second row in front of Victor. And he's like, all right, intermission, we're going to sneak our way down there. And I was like, all right, cool. So Victor comes out and starts his solo at the second half, and kind of looks at us weird. And he plays his solo. Béla Fleck comes out, and he walks over to him and kind of whispers something. And he looks in our direction, gives us a strange look, and then nothing happened after that. So I guess we really didn't almost get kicked out. The Tower of Power was when we almost get kicked out. But so at the end of the show, Béla goes, all right, I'm going to introduce you to my family. And he starts going down the front row of all of his relatives. And then he got to the second row where we're sitting. He goes, I have no idea who these two guys are, but they had some really great seats. And he went down and named the rest of his family. So we were sitting with Bella's family. It was kind of cool.
That's pretty funny.
So yeah,
it's funny. The after you introduced me, when we worked, I was still working at the computer place. I don't know if you were still there, if you left at that point. And a gentleman walked up to me, and I was helping him, and he takes out some sheet music, and it was a classical piece, and he goes, do you know who's named after this person? I was like, who? He goes, Béla Fleck. He goes, do you know who Béla Fleck is? And I was like, yes, I do know who Béla Fleck is. So I forget what the composer was, but it was just really funny how like all that kind of happened all around that same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually saw them for the first time at the Tillis Center at CW Post.
Really?
Yep.
When?
I was at Concordia at the time, so it must have been 2003, 2004, maybe.
I was gonna say it'd have to be around that because yeah, it makes
sense.
sense.
A friend of ours actually got me. I think I paid $6 a ticket to see them.
That's like discounted tickets.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Were they in the Tillis Center or were they in
yes.
the? So
yep.
they were in the Tillis Center.
Yep.
Because like when I first saw, or the second time I saw Rockapella, they were in the Hillwood Recital Hall. They didn't play at the Tillis Center.
Yeah.
But it was still packed out. But okay, so they were actually
in Tillis.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they draw a crowd at that time?
It was packed.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Actually, it was. Let me see. It was right around the time. Yeah, it was when Little Worlds came out, so it must have been 2003, 2004. Because remember they played Puffy, which we'll talk about when we get to Healthy.
You know what's interesting is that I wouldn't have known them until you told me.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like they had a pretty decent following, even
And
though they.
that's something that I like. I didn't realize what their following was. So I looked at Spotify. There are only 80,000 monthly listeners on
What are
Spotify.
their subscribers?
Right. But like, and like, but there's like their albums. It's rare to find a song. Oops, I'm in the wrong, on the wrong mouse setting. Here we go. So like the album. So let's look at like their most recent album is called Rocket Science. Rocket Science. If you look at the plays, there is no song on that album that has more than 100,000 plays.
And we've looked at stuff that has had, like Nickel Creek, for example, has 311,993 monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's look at this. Let's go by individuals. Can I click on them?
What I
Yeah,
didn't look,
and
which would
now you
be
have off their A Dotted Line
mm-hmm.
album, you have Destination, which has 10 million listens.
Right.
How did they surpass Béla Fleck?
That's what I'm trying to figure out is how is this possible that they don't have that many like Victor Wooten, Funky D, 5,476,000.
So individually, they have
Mm-hmm.
a better
They're,
following.
yep.
Well, so here's the thing. So the Sinister Minister overall has 4 million listens.
Right. But that's rare.
Right. And that might be lifetime on Spotify.
Right. And if you like we just pulled up a Victor Wooten song, Sinister Minister's a huge Victor Wooten thing. He's got a huge solo in it.
Right.
You know, and I thinking about it now, like I, I wasn't a Spotify person from the beginning. When did Spotify really get big?
I would say probably I was always Apple Music.
Right.
I think Apple
Sorry.
Music as a what?
The car drove by that was very
Oh,
loud.
Apple Music as a whole was limited until within a few years ago that you were able to get it
Right.
on your Android devices or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I don't that you can't do is I don't think you can play it through a web browser,
Got it.
right? So it'd have to be within the past 10 years because they definitely were doing that prior to Apple Music doing it.
Right. I was just thinking maybe when Béla Fleck was big and touring, Spotify wasn't that big.
That's probably what it is.
You know, because I mean, if it is 10 years, their last album came out in 2013, I think, or maybe 11.
Right.
If my
But
mouse
it's
would,
true. Their followers are 95,000 followers. So they don't even have a large
right.
follower. It's interesting.
Do you use the following feature in any of these things, any of these apps?
I have on Apple.
Okay, I've never
Like
used it. I
Nickel
don't know why.
Creek, I do follow.
Okay,
I
couldn't even tell
because
you what
it'll.
it does. Have no idea.
I think it's kind of like a notification thing. I think
Okay,
like if
I
something new
remember
comes
when
out,
iTunes came out with like some sort of a thing. I tried it when iTunes came out and went, this is dumb, and I never use it ever again.
the only thing that's bad with the like or the favoriting is that if you're doing a playlist like you're doing and you have favorites, it'll hit that one more often
Mm,
because that's one of the songs that you've played more often, like you favorited.
gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
That's what I've noticed. I may be completely wrong, but that's what I've noticed.
Okay.
So it's very, but you're right. It's very interesting how their following is so. Let's say Victor Wooten's following. See, but even him, he has 212,000 followers, but he only has 143,000 monthly listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Nickel Creek still outranks him on that.
Interesting.
And
Hmm.
Nickel Creek have been playing for as long as he's been playing, in a sense, even
Yep.
prior to all the streaming stuff.
Yep.
Huh.
Who knows?
Nothing makes sense anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Well, here, Stanley Clark, right? Stanley Clark, you like Stanley Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stanley Clark's good. I like Stanley Clark too, but he also is a composer, is he not?
Yes, he is.
Right? So 142,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say only because I would expected this to be higher. 371,000 monthly listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So what? It's got to be, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound really bad, and everybody's going to get mad at me for it. It's got to be the radio.
Could be.
Because I've gone to places where the radio's playing. There's a station on. It's a local station, and
Mm-hmm.
within 30 minutes, I've heard the same song at least 4 times.
Right.
And I think it's that constant. You need to listen to this artist, and then you go
Yep.
and play that artist.
Yep.
All right, we went off track a little bit.
Sorry. Back to Béla Fleck.
No, it's my
Focus.
fault.
Focus.
I was having fun.
So, Béla Fleck and the Flecktones is a group formed by Béla Fleck, who is originally from New York, which is why when he was playing in New York, his family was there. And he is now living in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a phenomenal banjo player. And the idea behind the group was he wanted to form a group that had musicians who were trying something different with their instrument. So he was trying to take a bluegrass instrument and play other stuff. So he was trying to play jazz, and he actually has several classical albums where he's playing, Chopin and, all these other Bach and all these other classical artists or composers. So he was looking for people like that, like-minded people. And that's when he found Victor Wooten, who was doing something different on the bass. His whole technique was different than the way other people have played the bass before, mostly the slapping technique. And then adding hammer-ons and adding, harmonics. And so that was different. And then they were looking for a drummer, and Vic said, well, my brother's doing some unique things. We should talk to him. So his brother Roy, they also call the Future Man. He walks around with a pirate hat on most of the time because why not? But he invented this instrument called the synth axe drumitar, which it looks like almost like a guitar, and it's got buttons all over it. And it's really kind of like a soundboard of MIDI recorded drums. And he can play them, and then he also has a drum set that he plays at the same time. So he's playing both of those instruments. He does play a full drum set as well, but with the Flecktones, he mostly played this synth-axe drumitar. And I think it was eventually produced by Pearl, I want to say.
I think it was Pearl. I was double checking myself. I think Pearl did it.
And then they had Howard Levy, who was playing the piano and harmonica. And Howard Levy, I'm going to try and find it. It's hard to find just the snippet, but there is a video of him playing Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring on the harmonica. And there are several different voice parts that you can hear, different lines going at the same time. And he plays all of them at the same time on the harmonica. It is amazing. How he pulls that off, I don't know. But he is just a brilliant, brilliant human being. And he started with the group, played with the group for the first several years. And in 1992, he departed the group because he wanted to spend more time with his family. So in 92, he left, and they came out with another album after that called Three Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was just Victor, Béla, and Roy. And then they found Jeff Coffin, who is a saxophone player who plays two saxophones at the same time, because why not? And he joined in 97 and then played with them until 2008 when he left for my favorite group in the entire world, the Dave Matthews Band. And I'm still bitter about that.
Is there sarcasm in that statement?
Yes, very much full of sarcasm.
Laced with sarcasm.
Yes. So that is the story. And I'm sorry, after Jeff left in 2008, Howard Levy came back. So Howard is on their most recent album, which is called Rocket Science, which came out in 2011.
That's because the second row, two guys of the second row were able to move, and he was able to get back to his family.
Yes, exactly. So their first album came out in 1990, and it was a self-titled album called Béla Fleck and the Flecktones. Béla is actually named after the composer Béla Bartók.
Yep.
Who's from New York as well, I believe. Or
I think
so.
So. Yes, actually,
something like that.
Yeah.
But he was Bulgarian. I don't remember. Something like that. I don't know.
Let's do research. We can Google it. He lived in New York, but he was born in Romanian. He was Romanian.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
But he lived for those of you aspiring piano players, the Bartók Microcosmos excellent books to learn hand independence.
Oh, nice. Good, because I need something. My hand
Um,
independence is horrible.
yeah, it's really really well done. So,
That's
anyway,
awesome.
one of their most popular songs came off of this album, this Béla Fleck, the Flecktones, and this is called "The Sinister Minister." So it starts out with some crazy bass playing, and it kind of progresses with some even crazier bass playing later on. And I was listening to the Corey Wong podcast. Corey introduced, good lord, interviews Victor Wooten on this podcast, and Victor was talking about like the early days of the Flecktones and how, as a bass player, he was seen as more of a soloist than most bass players, and then when Howard Levy left, he became even more of a soloist because he had that opportunity. And that's really what kind of solidified his career as what we know him as, a solo bass player. Really interesting podcast episode. Really encourage you to check that out if you're interested in Victor Wooten and Corey Wong, which obviously I am.
So would you say that Béla Fleck and the Flecktones, amongst the Béla Fleck and Victor Wooten, is a fluid group like Tower Power?
I wouldn't say in terms of like rotating members. No.
Yeah, rotating members. That's the better way of saying
I wouldn't, because Tower. I mean, yes, they've had a core, but I mean, they really haven't been swapping people out really. Like Howard Levy left, Jeff Coffin came and left, and Howard Levy came back.
No, that's why I was curious of what your take was on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that fluid. Like Tower of Power, like their horn section changes like every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And there's and it's a lot easier for them because there are 15 people in that group or so.
Right. But they're not like you. They didn't replace Howard Levy. They were like, okay, we'll get by without him.
Right. Exactly.
But they'll bring in guest artists or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Right. No, and that's kind of why I was just curious your take on that, because I didn't see them as that way. I saw them more of like, all right, you got to go do your thing. Go do your thing. If you want to come back, come back. But we're not going to replace you.
Right. And I think one of the other interesting things about this group is, Béla being the way he is, he wants to be able to perform every single thing that he has composed in concert at some point. Every song he wants to be able to perform live. So even when we get to like the Outbound album, which we'll talk about when we get to it, but like they brought in special guests for that. Like they brought those special guests with them on tour because they wanted to do those songs with those people, which I thought was kind of cool. So,
that is cool.
One more from this album. This album, I don't know if I mentioned, came out in 1990, but this is called Sunset Road. I just love. There are so many songs that I love, like the groove that Béla creates on that banjo, and that's one of them. It's just this so deep in the pocket. It's just so good.
Yeah, they're and it's interesting because they're very what is the word I was looking for?
Windowsill.
Windowsill. That's exactly it. They're very windowsill. They're
Mhm.
very like you said, they're Victor was seen more as a soloist,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like they're all like soloists that just blend well together.
Yeah.
You know, there's talk about a possible tour in 2025.
Really
Yes,
interesting.
and Howard Levy is on tour right now
With who? Or just by himself?
himself.
I don't know if Howard Levy's solo stuff actually.
So
Well,
I'm just on their site, but it also
gotta
doesn't look
look
like
into
it's been
that.
updated recently. Huh?
Gotta look into Howard Levy's solo stuff.
It says the Howard Levy Four is the name of the group.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
who's in it? Let's see.
Howard Levy and
Ah,
three
I
other
don't
people.
have that. It doesn't want to go. I don't have Facebook. Silly Facebook.
So. All right. So we're gonna move along to an album that I get confused with because the cover of the album I think looks very similar to the color of the last album. But this is Flight of the Cosmic Hippo. This came out in '91, and this is called Blue Bop. All right, so first off, I love the fact that you threw a little Mario Brothers riff in there.
Yep.
It makes me smile every single time I hear it. But one of the things that I always admired about this group is if you listen to what Béla plays on the banjo, it's always very, very clean, and the banjo is known for it is an instrument that you can play clean with a lot of technicality and facility. The bass has always been an instrument that can be kind of muddy because of where it sits in the tonality range. But if you listen to Victor play, he is so clean and is able to mimic a banjo on a bass, which is just
Yeah.
stupid crazy.
It's brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
not just his talent and his playing, and the ability to go from a form of music to another form of music to another form of music.
Yep.
By the way, June 15th, Cleveland, Ohio, the Howard Levy Four.
Nice. That's
You
like
want to know
4
who's in
hours
the
for
group?
me though. A long way.
Ready?
What?
Howard Levy is diatonic harmonica, keyboard, and bamboo flute.
Uh-huh.
Chris Seibold is electric and acoustic guitars.
Okay.
Joshua Ramos is electric bass.
Okay.
And Louis Erwiling, I think I
Okay.
said it right, drums.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to check that out. And then the song that you use to close almost every single show is this one, the title track of the album, Flight of the Cosmic Hippo. Just so interesting. I never thought when I first found them, I never thought I would ever listen to music like this ever. Like it was just so far out of my wheelhouse.
This
But
was the
now it's
album that you introduced me to them with.
really
Yeah, Flight of the Cosmic
interesting.
Hippo.
Okay,
Because I remember because Live at the
that's a
Quick, you introduced Live at the Quick was Robert Roundup from the Family Band.
now
They
Live at the
introduced me to
Wetlands was
Live at the Wetland, but Flight of the Cosmic Hippo was what I remember being my first album from them, and that
interesting.
was because you told me to pick it up.
Okay.
You don't
All right.
remember that at all, do you?
No, it's why I didn't recommend the live art one. I don't know,
Time
or
period.
communication. I don't know.
No, I think it's just the time frame.
Well, live
Left
art
of
came out in
Cool. I mean, I
'95.
think you showed me a few. Maybe I picked the Flight of the Cosmic. I know you played a
Okay,
song on it.
because Left
Either
of
way.
Cool was my first Flecktones album, and then live art was my second.
So it may have been Left of Cool, and I picked up Flight, but I remember that one being more distinct than Left of Cool.
Gotcha.
I don't remember why, but I mean,
Okay.
they're all great. I like
Yeah.
all of them. I'm just saying
Yep.
that's the one that stood out to me.
Yep. All right. So then we move to 1992. This is the last album with Howard Levy until the very last album that they came out with. This is a song called Sex in a Pan. I forget where they were, somewhere down south. I think maybe Georgia or something. They were in a restaurant, and Victor had some sort of dessert, and he referred to it as Sex in a Pan and wrote this song. How to play the banjo. It's, they're very, very, you know, they say that Béla is someone who leads without leading. And that's something that I've really tried to adopt because I think it's important. He really stresses that nobody in the group is more important than the other one, despite him having his name in the band twice. Like
Right. But he
it's
also knows that the song is going to be better
right.
because he didn't attempt to write a bass part because he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, not that he doesn't understand it. It's just he
Right.
knows he doesn't know it as well.
Yep.
And the same, so it's like, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I know it's going to be a great song because we're doing our parts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm Béla Fleck, so keep it
Right.
that way. No,
And I mean, I don't know why this struck me. So much of their stuff is so detail oriented. I want to play just the beginning of this again. Just listen to the harmonica part in the very beginning. How short these notes are. Like they're so short, but they're so accented, so pointed, and they're just it's so. I mean, this is Howard Levy just being so precise and knowing exactly what he wants. But just listen to the harmonica part again. It's just so deliberate and so precise. And I missed the first one. Sorry.
But the thing is, if you didn't know it was him, you wouldn't know it was a harmonica.
Right.
Like you would be questioning what instrument
Mm-hmm.
that was. That a keyboard? Was that?
Yep.
And it's just like
Yep.
that. There is a big deal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
did you know that the first time you heard the song that it was him?
I honestly, I probably didn't even notice it.
Right. Well, okay. So there's the other side. You probably didn't even notice it.
Yeah, and I think that's these headphones.
Well, yeah. As we talk, the gear and the headphones play a big factor. Yeah.
So, all right. One of my favorite Béla Fleck songs. This is called the Yeehaw Factor. All right, I'm going to go back just for a second because that's a lot to take in. I want you to listen specifically to the bass part right here.
Yes, I was just gonna say
because, and I'm going to play one that's I didn't add on the list. I'm going to go find it while we're listening to this. But just the way Victor plays this bass part is just unreal. I mean, it's just crazy.
And the when he goes into the next part, it feels like a complete tempo change on his
Yes.
playing.
Yep.
Like the tempo isn't changing,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the way he's playing the notes, you get a completely different feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it
And
switches
that's
from
what's
triplets.
brilliant about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it reminds me of this song, which is I don't know what album. I don't think this is on any other album except for the Greatest Hits album. How it's on their Greatest Hits album and I can't find it anywhere else, I don't know. But this is called Shock Time, and if you think that bass play was impressive, listen to the bass part on this one. So he basically played the banjo part and then played with Béla, and like it was just like, whatever, not a big deal.
And it's amazing because at the beginning, it almost feels like, and I'm not saying he is, but it feels like he's like just a slight bit faster than Béla Fleck when he's playing.
Yes, and
But
that's
not.
intentional. It's what
Yeah,
drives
no,
the song
I'm just saying,
forward.
like, yeah, it just the way he pulls it forward. But then they come together and they're like
Mm-hmm.
in sync with their playing.
Yeah, that having the bass slightly ahead is very typical in bluegrass music.
Yes.
It's what pushes it forward.
But it's more prominent in that moment.
Yep.
Because then when he gets into where he's playing it with Béla Fleck, it's like,
yeah,
my brain wouldn't be able to handle that. No,
speaking of that, just again going back to the Corey Wong thing, this just popped in my head. It was interviewing Chris Steele, and they were talking about playing during COVID, and Corey looked at Chris and said, "Did you ever try and predict the Zoom delay while playing with other people on Zoom?" Chris is like, "Yeah, it's really fun." I'm like, "Good God, you people!"
It's so true.
Yeah,
it's so true.
Yep.
Like you, even and they're talking about music, but even in meetings, like you would have to sit there and like wait for them to stop moving their lips.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I can start speaking now.
Yeah, but they were talking about like predicting the delay so they could play at the same time. Like,
yes,
guys, stop. Give it a rest.
And people still don't know how to turn on and off the mute.
Yeah,
they're figuring that out.
Lawyers still show up as cats.
Oh, my sound's on. I'm sorry.
All right. So after that, Howard Levy leaves, and we have an album with just the three people: Béla, Roy, and Victor. This is off of the album.
Oh, now the title makes so much more sense.
Doesn't it make more sense now? Three Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So this is, I think this is the first track on the album. This is called Vix 9. The bands of like the 60s and stuff, but like even though there's only three of them, it still sounds complete.
Yeah, it sounds full.
Yeah. You think about, bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Grand Funk Railroad. They were all, trios that were, and there's a story that Victor tells about his brother Roy. They were doing a rehearsal at Victor's house. Oh, no, Roy's house, I think it was. No, it couldn't have been Roy's house because he would have had a drum set. But anyway, they were doing a rehearsal and Roy didn't have a drum set. So he played the entire rehearsal in a cardboard box. But nobody realized it was a cardboard box because he had different sounds that he was getting out of the cardboard box. So that's the sort of thing, like, just to prove that, like, even though the instrument is important, it's also not important. The music is more important than the instrument.
Right. And I think that's why we like Nickel Creek so much, because it's the same idea. Like, there's three of them.
Yep.
And they do such a good job of filling out. Like, if it's just, there's songs that they do have bass players and stuff, but when it's just the three of them and their
you don't miss
voices
percussion in that group.
Right.
And a lot of that is Chris Steele doing percussion on mandolin, but. it's just a great tune with a great message in it. Highly recommend checking that one out.
Definitely.
And now we're going to move on to one of my favorite albums, which is the live art one. Imagine that, me like a live album. No,
How dare you?
I know. So the first song I chose off this one was called New South Africa. Um, and I would recommend. I've actually never seen it, but I've heard amazing things from this. It's called "Throw Down Your Heart," Africa Sessions. This is a Béla Fleck thing. He actually went to Africa and toured. Not, I guess, toured's the wrong word, but explored the origins of the banjo in Africa, and how it affected people. And it's supposed to be an amazing documentary. So it is on his website. I would recommend checking it out. But this song is called "New South Africa." All right, I had a thought I had several thoughts while I was listening to that. So we talked about Joe Bonamassa last episode, right?
Yes.
Do you happen to remember how many followers he had on Instagram? I mean, Instagram
He
and on
has a
Spotify.
quite big amount. I think he has a million or so.
Eight hundred
Um,
and eight
it's
thousand 29. So that is 10
that
times
was
more than
like I
Béla
said.
Fleck and the Flecktones. All right. So here's what I was thinking. How many Grammys does Joe Bonamassa have?
None.
0. How many does Béla Fleck have? 17. Been nominated 39 times. Interesting.
Is it the rate of albums?
I don't think so. Could be. I mean,
I
maybe.
mean,
It,
did
it could
any of
also
their
be the
music?
genre that they play in.
Right.
Maybe.
I
I
know.
mean,
I know. We don't
Joe's
like
in
to
a
use that
saturated
word.
guitar market.
We don't like to use
Bela's
that
in
word.
his own.
But
You know, it's just interesting.
I mean, it could be the fact that, and not to this is not to put anything. We're not putting anything down here
No.
because Joe Bonamassa is in such a saturated part of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in a negative way
No,
because
it's
every
just
guitarist holds their own
right.
blockers, whatever. Whereas Béla Fleck and the Flecktones has that unique coupling of
Exactly.
musicians,
Yep.
and that's what makes them, even though the less followers, the nominated Grammys, because they
Yep.
probably aren't nominated in the typical categories.
Right.
Whereas Joe Bonamassa is going to go up against guitarists that,
Mm-hmm.
even though he is just as good as, but
Mm-hmm.
because one is more popular because they're on the radio more.
Right. Yeah. I guess like Joe Bonamassa versus John Mayer.
Right. Right.
And even John
And
Mayer's not a huge name anymore, but
exactly.
you know.
I think that makes a very good point because it's very interesting because I was gonna say that song has such a fusion of music in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like it's not just blues, it's not just jazz, it's not the
Mm-hmm.
folk. It's got an African vibe to it,
Yep.
in some of the sounds and the playing that was going on.
Yep. And there's a fantastic version of that with just Béla and his wife Abigail Washburn playing that as a duet.
She plays
banjo.
Banjo as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Well, we are just about the hour mark, so I think we're gonna do one more off of this album, and then we'll.
Or do you want to finish out the 90s?
We could do that,
and then we can
90s.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's finish out the 90s, and then we can jump back in part 2 in the 2000s.
Sounds good. So this next tune is called "Stomping Grounds," one of my favorites. I love that song so much.
His bass played is just...
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
I mean, Béla Fleck's amazing, and he's matching that on the bass.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, oh, wow.
Yep. All right, let's do one more album. This was the first album that I ever heard Béla Fleck and the Flecktones. And ironically, the 2 songs I chose are all not just instrumental, they have vocals to them, which is strange for Béla Fleck and strange for me.
What is happening with you?
I don't know. But the first one, I think, again, going back to the message that we had earlier, this one's got a good message too. This is called Communication.
Is the only way. Start saying what you mean to say. All your troubles are gonna run away. Start saying what you mean to say. Communication is the only way. Start saying what you mean to say. All your troubles gonna run away. Start saying what you mean today. Communication is the only way. Start saying what you mean to say. All your troubles gonna run away. Start saying what you mean today.
So I forgot to mention this is the first album with Jeff Coffin. Even though we heard some saxophone and the live art, that was not Jeff Coffin. I believe that was Paul McCandless.
Who was the female vocalist?
That's Roy. It's
that's Roy. That's right.
That's Roy.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, when it started playing, I'm like, wow, I haven't listened to these albums in so long. Yep. And I totally forgot that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
CD had a checkerboard on it. Remember the CD spinning as a checkerboard?
Yes. That's too funny.
I like. You know what? That's interesting. I've been trying to get ideas for a headshot, and I kind of like this album cover. where they're standing on Jeff Coffin's head, but it's just like the top of his head. Might be an interesting idea for a headshot.
I wonder who has a head that we could do this with.
I don't know.
Everyone.
So, we'll do one more off of this album before we close out the episode. This is called "Let Me Be the One."
Been saving all my love for a rainy day. Yeah. I didn't know the love was gonna hurt this way. Though the days are lonely and the nights are so cold, I remain waiting for the mate of my soul. I could be the one to care for you. 1,000 dreams could all come true if you let me be the one.
I just want to talk a little bit about Jeff Coffin's playing in this one for just a second, because not only does he play two saxophones at the same time, he does something else that a lot of people don't pick up on. He's playing through like guitar pedals. So he's got like
Right.
distortion added to it and a whole bunch of other like compression and weird stuff. Not a lot of people do that when they're playing the saxophone. I just think it's interesting. I mean, again, it goes back to that thing that Béla was looking for. We want people that are doing different things with their instruments.
Right.
And not just playing two at the same time, but also these weird effects, playing through, interesting.
It is. It's smart to
Yeah.
try something new like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So let's call it an episode there. We've got, let's see, hang on here. Let me get to the other mouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more albums for next week.
And I was wondering if you wanted to share one of Béla Fleck's solo albums.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do
Because
that.
I know he has a few out.
He does.
And I know he has one out with his wife as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of show his
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
because we've done Victor Wooten and a few other, so I was thinking maybe that'd be a cool way.
Yeah, sure.
But now we're going into the 2000s with part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yep. And honestly, some of my favorite stuff. And again, one of my favorite songs I totally forgot about is this one, which I'll give you a quick snippet of. You come back next week. Oh, no, I did it. No. Mute. So it's this one. And that's all you get. You have to come back next week for the rest of it.
Join us Sunday though at
Yes.
7:30 to hear the 90s albums from Béla Fleck and the Flecktones.
Mm-hmm.
And then join us next week so you can find out what that song was.
Yes.
Or is. That song is.
Is.
Because
Sure.
it's not. Whatever.
Yeah, it was, but it still is.
Yay, grammar.
Thank you all so much for listening.
Yes.
We will see you next Tuesday. Remember, we are doing live streams Friday and Sunday evenings where you can hear more of this stuff and other stuff as well. Anything else that I
Until
forgot?
next week. Yeah.
Yep. See you next week. That's it. Goodbye. See you. Bye. Remember, my name is Tired. Goodbye.